and welcome to National Focus. I am Aliyah Martin. In the headlines, government invests in early childhood development to improve universal education. Agro-processing to help in development of country's economy. And Ministry of Labor to fully automate services. The details of the headline stories and more when we return. Welcome back. Education for all has always been one of the priority areas of focus for government. Investments have been made to provide students with the best possible start in life and to take advantage of all the opportunities for their advancement. To achieve this goal of universal education, government is dedicated to improving accessibility to early childhood education. Dominica is currently one of 4 OECS member states benefiting from funding for sector development under the Program for Educational Advancement and Relevant Learning OECS PEARL project. This project consists of 4 major pillars to include curriculum reform, early childhood education, special education needs, and leadership and management.
Approximately 575 females and 603 males are enrolled at 87 early childhood centers all over Dominica. The thrust to increase access to early childhood education continues with the upgrading of the pre-kindergarten classroom at Dalis, Monjon, and Grand Bay Primary. New pre-kindergartens have been established at the new W.S. Stevens and Maho Primary Schools. Under the OECS PEARL project, the Caleb Laura, Batcatel, Jones Bopier, Salibia, and Cassie Bruce Primary Schools early childhood facility will be upgraded at a total of $468,000.
Government's aim to expand universal education is further complemented by plans to refurbish some dedicated spaces for early childhood education. Early childhood education facilities are also part of the designs for the soon constructed primary schools in Tibo and Kalibishi.
An early childhood facility is being constructed at the Baroness Patricia Scotland Primary School, funded by the Maria Holder Memorial Trust. To better serve students, 30 early childhood educators completed a 2-year training program with the University of the West Indies. Mr. Speaker, in preparation for finalizing the existing draft of the early childhood policy and developing standards for regulating the early childhood sector, a diagnostic review of the sector was conducted, and the final drafts of the policy and standards are being reviewed for feedback by various stakeholders. The development of the policy and standard is being funded by UNICEF.
The development of Dominica's agro-processing capabilities is a critical aspect to the Ministry of Agriculture's goal of contributing $700 million to the annual GDP by 2030. Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture with specific responsibility for the development of community agro-enterprises, Honorable Akia Joseph, says there is a need to develop and sustain a secure food supply. This is because the external and internal factors that pose challenges for the country's food production requires a different approach as government tries to achieve even greater food security. One of these approaches is the development of agro-processing and agro-entrepreneurship.
Agro-processing, agro-entrepreneurship, value addition. It is within this context, Mr. Speaker, that this budget provides allocation for increased food production with 3 clear market-driven outlets in mind. Food for local consumption, food for regional and international exports, and food as raw materials for value addition or agro-processing. Mr. Speaker, our ability to achieve the goals of a well-developed and defined agricultural sector, inclusive of agro-processing, depend on the efficient use of all food resources produced, and a clear strategy to develop the capacity of entrepreneurs and agro-processors to transform these food products into innovative and sustainable finished products that are market-ready.
The development of the agro-processing sector will aid government in reducing the country's food import bill, which currently stands at about $126 million.
We have in this budget allocated just over $56 million to rectify this constraint by over 25% before 2025. And the reality is, Mr. Speaker, we have the ability and opportunity to produce all of the above-mentioned products and so much more, as the extent of the local market for food commodities provide just a glimpse of the golden gateway available to our cottage industries and commercial entrepreneurs, in addition to the avenue for development of the agro-processing sector to increase value-added output for regional trade expansion.
Government, through the Ministry of Agriculture, is working towards developing agro-processors and entrepreneurs by providing them with support that they need to contribute to the sector.
We at the Ministry of Agriculture are on a mission to locating and developing a cadre of entrepreneurs who can and are currently adding value to our agricultural produce to develop enriched, flavored and packaged foods, beauty supplies and skincare products, medical alternatives, and other agro-processed goods. Mr. Speaker, a government without a mission is a government lost. So here are the components involved in achieving this mission, and I will list them briefly. A comprehensive needs assessment, which has already begun, capacity building, availability of and access to finance, infrastructural development, market research and development, regulatory support, monitoring and evaluation, networking and collaboration, and lastly, continued cooperation and support.
As government moves towards building a resilient and modern public sector, the Ministry of Labor, Public Service Reform, Social Partnership, Entrepreneurship and Small Business Development is currently undergoing the automation of all its services. This is in an effort to reduce wait time for citizens while promoting efficiency within the ministry.
One of the initiatives currently being undertaken is the automation of services. Automation of services to modernize and to be efficient. The Labor Division processes numerous work permits daily. It must be noted that this exercise is totally manual. In pursuit of efficiency, consistent with the national reset, I'm delighted to announce that the services of the Labor Division will soon be fully automated. We are currently in the testing phase, and once implemented, this online service will allow clients to submit applications remotely, reducing wait time and processing delays.
The ministry also hopes to complete the total digitization of all records by the end of the 2023 to 2024 fiscal year.
Moreover, Mr. Speaker, applicants will be able to check their status, the status of their applications online. Our goal is to strengthen and streamline processes through this modernization initiative. In addition, by the end of this fiscal year, we plan to complete the digitalization of all of our records in the Labor Division. This will enhance access to records and improve administrative efficiency to benefit all of our stakeholders.
Another major initiative currently ongoing in the ministry is the reclassification of the public service. The first phase is set to begin implementation on September 1, 2023.
We are pleased that a report on the job evaluation has been favorably reviewed, and we are proceeding with the first phase of implementation with effect from September 1, 2023. In summary, we have seen upgrades to 73 positions within the police service, fire and ambulance service, Department of Social Services, Environmental Health, Dominica Prison Services, the Division of Agriculture, Nursing Service, Forestry, Labor Division, Customs and Excise Division, Administration, and other departments of government.
Upon implementation, the reclassification exercise will promote numerous public offices, which will result in more benefits for these officers.
Most of the upgraded positions will move up 1 or 2 grade levels and will benefit from increases in the minimum and maximum salaries within their scale. Increases will take effect from September 1, 2023. In addition to the job evaluation, a review of the grade and salary structure was conducted. This review reduced some anomalies in the structure, addressed some of the wide pay scales at various levels, developed a unified salary structure for the general public service and the police service.
Minister for Culture, Youth, Sports and Community Development, Honorable Greta Roberts, says the preservation and promotion of Dominica's culture remains a priority for the ministry. Through the facilitation of training in the arts, providing support for cultural industries, and strengthening the creative sector, the ministry has been working towards its mandate of preserving, developing, and promoting the country's culture.
It is our desire to preserve, develop, and promote Dominica's culture and all its various expressions, facilitate training in the arts, provide support for cultural industries, and strengthen the creative sector. The Cultural Division, which is mandated to preserve and promote our culture, continues to lead, providing the technical and financial support to groups and individuals in the promotion of culture. At the division, preserving our cultural traditions, art forms, and expressions is a priority.
Minister Roberts says the digitization of archived cultural events is currently ongoing in the ministry to preserve these events for future generations.
Digitization of archived audiovisual media is ongoing for the sole purpose of robust long-term storage and future dissemination. Over the last cycle, we successfully staged all of our festivals following the break we had from the pandemic, including Emancipation Day, our independence celebrations, National Heritage Day, Carnival and Christmas activities, and just last weekend, the Golden Drum Awards, where we honored our cultural luminaries.
To preserve the culture and traditions of future generations, investments must be made in the country's youth in that sector.
As a former teacher, I believe that we must invest in our youth if we are to sustain our deep cultural heritage. I am therefore pleased that this year we resumed the Schools Arts Festival during the month of March, where many of our students proudly demonstrated their talent in various disciplines, to include choral speech, vocal solo, instrumental ensemble, traditional and creative dance, theater, and art and craft. I want to thank the students, the staff of all the schools who participated in this year's festival. It is our hope to nurture these talents for continuity in the fields of visual and performing arts.
The ministry will also be hosting a summer camp for children ages 6 to 17 to introduce them to various traditional and cultural practices.
Additionally, the division is increasing its outreach to schools to increase training in the performing arts. In a few weeks, we will host a summer camp at the Old Mill Cultural Center to provide a variety of cultural experiences, activities, and training to children ages 6 to 17. We are proud to have collaborated with departments within the public service as well as the private sector, and we can boast of our strong relations with the Kalinago community, who are ever so willing to assist us. Right. We also thank the University of the West Indies Open Campus and the local African community for their continued collaboration.
Government is committed to improving the lives of all citizens with priority placed on protecting the country's most vulnerable. Earlier this year, government took a decision to mandate the enactment of new legislation through the passage of 5 laws in Parliament. These laws were passed to enhance the legislative framework which governs the actions taken to safeguard and promote the well-being of vulnerable populations.
The laws referred to earlier are the Children Care and Adoption Act, Status of Children Act, the Maintenance of Children Act, Maintenance Act, and Domestic Violence Act. Cognizant of the critical importance and need to sensitize pertinent stakeholders on the family laws, as well as in keeping with the pronouncement made by the Honorable Prime Minister, the Ministry has planned numerous sensitization and training activities to take place island-wide. The first training activity was convened in Roseau with police inspectors to familiarize them on their role in the implementation of the said laws.
Dr. Williams says when enacted, the Child Justice Bill will bring transformative changes in the manner in which a child accused of an offense is dealt with.
Emphasis is placed on diversion, which refers to diverting an accused away from formal court procedures towards a more constructive and positive solution. The bill proposes a number of diversion options, one of which has shown tremendous success. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry initiated a post-charge diversion pilot program in partnership with the Social Center through its FOTA program. FOTA meaning from offending to achieving. During the last financial year, government committed the sum of $266,950 towards the FOTA program. That sum was utilized and helped ensure the sustainability of the program and aided parents who otherwise would have been unable to meet the educational costs of their children's participation.
10 students recently graduated from the FOTA program, 5 of whom were referred by the court, whilst the other 5 were self-registered. A review of the program revealed that overall, it provided rehabilitative care to the participants.
They were provided with the opportunity to take responsibility for their actions, as well as to become meaningful contributors to society through personal development and training. Mr. Speaker, the dire need for successful implementation of the new family laws triggered the over $400,000 investment for the restructuring of the Social Welfare Division and establishment of a new unit within the Dominica Police Force.
The new structures being implemented will charge the way forward for holistic human development through the provision of preventive, development, and therapeutic services. You're watching National Focus. More when we return. Welcome back. Major advancements are carried for the south of Dominica this fiscal year. Minister for Tourism and Parliamentary Representative for the Soufriere Constituency, Honorable Denise Charles, says her constituency is well on its way to becoming the Mecca for tourism. She spoke to some of the developments being undertaken in the Soufriere constituency to enhance the sector.
We'll be enhancing the peninsula. The plan, we had a design. I got some feedback from some stakeholders. We went back to the drawing board to enhance the design, Mr. Speaker, and hopefully in a month I will present the new designs to them, and then from there, Mr. Speaker, we'll progress with the project.
Government is also on course to enhance opportunities in the blue economy. Plans were approved for the development of an alum stream where fresh water flows to the sea.
We have an allocation of 300,000 euros to tackle that project, Mr. Speaker, and there is also a livelihood component of that project which will allow us to start the rehabilitation of the sulfur springs in Soufriere, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, when I say to you that we are going to be the Mecca, it's not just words, it's action, Mr. Speaker. We're making the right investments.
The Soufriere constituency is well known for its contribution to the fisheries sector. Minister Charles has committed to providing fisher folks with new boats. Plans are also in place for 2 landing sites in Soufriere and Scott's Head. This will help provide a secure location for the fisher folks in that area.
That was something that in conversation with the fishers that was needed, Mr. Speaker. The last landing site was destroyed in Scott's Head by Hurricane Maria. Soufriere never had one, but Scott said did, and I'm happy that in this budget we'll have 2 landing sites, one in Soufrière and one in Scott said, Mr. Speaker. And there are also plans to improve the locker rooms for the fishers, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, another project dear to my heart, recognizing that I come from a fishing community, is the fishing processing plant that we'll be doing. And a contract has been awarded, Mr. Speaker. We are finalizing the designs of that facility. So I'm hoping very soon, Mr. Speaker, that we'll go to the next phase, which is construction phase, Mr. Speaker. But that is a project that will transform the lives of ordinary fisher folks and fishmongers in the Soufrière constituency.
Minister for Housing and Urban Development, Honorable Melissa Popon-Skerrit, says the government of Dominica is well on its way to achieving its goal to construct 5,000 resilient homes by 2030. To date, government has constructed over 1,000 homes across the island.
Mr. Speaker, a few years ago, the Prime Minister made an announcement stating that our mission is to construct 5,000 homes, resilient homes by 2030. I'm pleased to report that we are well on our way, and to date, we have completed 1,811 homes, which is approximately 36% of this ambitious target, making significant milestones in this endeavor.
36 resilient homes were also constructed under the Kalinago housing project. The construction of these homes reflect government's commitment to ensure citizens are kept safe and no one gets left behind.
Another housing project is the Kalinago Resilient Project. We have made significant progress in enhancing the living conditions and the resilience of our indigenous population. 36 resilient homes have been constructed and occupied by the Kalinago families. This demonstrates our commitment to giving prominence to our indigenous people in our country's development, promoting social and economic equity across Dominica. Mr. Speaker, we leave no one behind. We say all shall eat and all shall live well.
Minister Skerrit says an additional 256 units will be constructed for families.
Another major part of our housing program is a modern resilient housing development program. Across Dominica, we have provided shelter to over 1,000 families, and we are presently constructing an additional 256 housing units designed to withstand natural disasters. Mr. Speaker, if you combine all the developments across Dominica at this moment, I can safely say there are about 500 homes being constructed at this point.
Most of government's housing programs are nearing completion, while plans to construct more homes are on the horizon. The housing minister commended the local contractors for the exceptional work they have been doing thus far.
I must commend the many local contractors and the labor teams who are building hundreds of homes across Dominica. Mr. Speaker, our local contractors, and through this, we have about 150, I would say, and if you have to calculate the people who work with them, let's just say 5 to 10, you can speak in the hundreds of people who are employed in construction in Dominica. And we are doing it this way because we want the monies to stay at the community level. We want them to build on their skill set. And I can safely say, I guarantee you, that at the end of this housing revolution, before this housing revolution ends, builders, people that you know as builders, will now become contractors.
Government has invested heavily over the years in a bid to build a resilient water sector. The country's water system and supply was heavily impacted by the passage of Hurricane Maria and other similar weather events in recent years. Minister of State in the Ministry of Public Works, Public Utilities and Digital Economy, with specific responsibility for public utilities, Honorable Shakira Lockhart Hippolyte, says government remains committed to bringing quality pipe-borne water to all consumers with the implementation of 4 major projects. One of them is the Water Sector Strategic Development Project.
Our government is committed to bringing quality pipe-borne water and more resilient water supply to homes in Dominica. As a result, we have embarked on 4 projects. The Water Sector Strategic Development Project,
This involves the replacement of damaged infrastructure to include river intakes and supply pipelines, water treatment plant, and storage tanks. All the necessary designs are completed. The project was open to tender, but the bids received were too high. In light of this, the intervention was redesigned, which would allow for the engagement of more local contractors.
Upon completion, numerous communities will benefit from this project as it will address their water supply issues.
The areas that will benefit greatly from this project are as follows. Cassibus, and I know the parliament representative there have been calling me because they have a lot of issues with their water supply. Kalibishi, Monjon, Rivière Syric, and Granfort, while the second phase to be considered are Roseau Valley, west coast of Salisbury to Kulibishri, and sewerage facility for Jimit. These interventions will provide direct employment for at least 200 residents during construction. Funds are provided by the government of Dominica from the UK development funds.
Parliamentary representative for the Portsmouth constituency, Honorable Fenella Wenham, says government continues to prioritize the needs of her constituents through a number of social programs. She says in addition to home repairs, 6 new homes have been built through the housing program.
Housing, Mr. Speaker, continues to be one of the most critical areas for the constituency, especially since the passage of Hurricane Maria. Since I came into office, I have seen 6 new homes built, roofs renovated, and Mr. Speaker, some constituents have received other forms of housing assistance. Housing remains a top priority for our constituents. That being said, let me mention the completion and commissioning of Judgetown Housing Complex in Glanville, thanks to the government of Dominica and MMC, and the Cotton Hill Housing Complex, thanks to the government of Dominica again and MMC.
Minister Wenham says 29 constituents have been newly employed under the National Employment Program NEP to work in areas of beautification, elderly care, and more.
These past few months have been good, and good for 29 new employees who have been approved for the National Employment Program, the NEP, Mr. Speaker. Jobs, Mr. Speaker, in elderly care, beautification, small business, and a few other areas. People are working, Mr. Speaker. And if this is not a good sign, then I don't know what else could be.
Minister Wenham commended the Chinese for ongoing works at the $13 million tissue culture lab in 1 Mile. She's pleased about the employment opportunities it has also created for her constituents.
The Tissue Culture Laboratory in 1 Mile is another great compliment, not only for research, Mr. Speaker, but for the creation of jobs for our people. Sonny, our Chinese counterpart at 1 Mile, and the team are doing great work at that site, Mr. Speaker. And we have met and spoken briefly, but it is my intention to make a formal visit there to understand and also to highlight the project operations.
The request for 50 solar lights to be erected in the Portsmouth constituency was also approved. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. Be sure to follow GIS Dominica on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitter. You can also drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm. From all of us here on the GIS News Production team, I'm Aliyah Martin. Thank you for watching.